Welcome back to the ocean. I'm Theory Chum. That's Chum. Today we're here to do a YouTube first. I am here to explain to you guys not only what the 0 point field is, but where we see it in the games. I'm also going to be backing it up with a lot of evidence. Now, I do want to provide a little bit of a disclaimer here. There is another YouTuber, a Spanish YouTuber, who has attempted to explain the 0 point field. And in this, they were going from the book Fetch, and according to what Mr. Jacoby and what Greg has said he was studying, they do speak of another scientist who did the work for the 0 point field. And in that, they really looked up at to what he was studying and then took that as valid proof and ran it all the way down the line without explaining the science of the 0 point field. They left a lot of misconceptions in the video. It became this whole universal conversation piece that flows through everything. And that's not exactly what the 0 point field is. So be ready because today you're joining me on an adventure to learn exactly what this field is, what it consists of, and how it applies to Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, whenever we're looking at the ZPF, it's important to notice that there's three different types of ZPF. However, we're going to go look at what Mr. Jacoby says, and we have to understand that Mr. Jacoby is a teacher teaching a lesson to students. So he's going to go off of the most understood examples. Running a hand through unruly red hair, Mr. Jacoby began. In quantum physics, there is something known as the 0 point field. This field is scientific proof that there is no such thing as a vacuum, no such thing as nothingness. If you empty all space of matter and energy, you still find, in subatomic terms, that's important. That word subatomic is going to be super important. A bunch of activity. This constant activity is a field of energy that is always in motion. Subatomic matter constantly interacting with other subatomic matter. Now, I want to clear up something. First, there's three different types of 0 point fields. The first one's going to be the most common, and that is what Mr. Jacoby is teaching his students. That's going to be matter. In this field, we have the electron field or the quark field. What this is the basic building blocks of anything solid. Now we have the second one, and this is the one that has to do with the FNAF. It's going to be the force field, where it's a photon field. And I'm going to get into the science today. And then finally, there's the gravitational field, which is powered by gravitrons, which admittedly, this is theoretical for quantum mechanics. It hasn't actually been found that there's been gravitrons that exist through experiments. Now you may ask, Theory Chum, how do we know that the 0 point field that is in FNAF is a force field and not a matter field like Mr. Jacoby said? Well, now we're going to go look at the Blackbird epilogue. Leading up to what I'm about to read, Jake and Andrew have entered the trash compactor, and Jake is pulling him and Andrew out. Larson couldn't move. He was mesmerized by the compacting jump and the inexplicable light rising from it. That light is exactly how we know. What was that? He realized he was still aiming at the crumpling, deconstructing stitch wraith and holstered his gun. He rubbed his eyes. Was he seeing things? It looked like a faint aurora borealis was rising up from the convulsing jump. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make this more simpler for you. Light equals photon. Ta-da! This is how we know. Because the interaction between Jake's agony hitting the atmosphere created light, we know the interaction is happening on a level of photons. Now, this is scientifically objective, but we can also look at it from a narrative standpoint that agony is supposed to be an energy. It's you can't grab it, you can't physically hold it unless you put it in like an animatronic or the little glass vial that we see on Baby and Sister location. Um, that's how we know that this isn't an electron or a quark field. There's also something that's incredibly important that's mentioned that a lot of people didn't pick up on, and that's the aurora borealis part. For an aurora borealis, You need three things. One, gravity. For this, we already know Earth's gravity is sufficient to create a aurora borealis. We got the gravity. We know that the Earth's gravity can make an aurora borealis because we have an aurora borealis in natural cause. The second thing we need is an electromagnetic field. And as we talked about, whenever the 0 point field is a force field, it is an electromagnetic field. This is what the photons make. Photons carry the charge, makes it electromagnetic. This is our GPS. Then we have big number three. We need solar wind. So, for the aurora borealis of what we saw, right? And remember this. For the aurora borealis of what we saw, we have number one and number two. Then we have the 0 point field. We have this right guy being broke down here. We have Jake grabbing Andrew, and they're going away. So in the 0 point field, you have the energy disconnecting from the citrus. That creates an aurora borealis, which means Jake and Andrew really did it because Jake's so powerful with his dragon. That means they have to be hard light particles because that's what solar wind is. They're making an aurora borealis because big charged light particles are entering the ZPF. Oh, but how do we know this is it? Because the opposite of light is also true. Understand that, block? Let's get this set up a little bit. Yeah, block. Whenever Jake and Andrew are pulled, it has actin left in it. Actin's a negative charge. Whenever Jake is pulled back into the citrate, he sees pure darkness, which means that the virtual energy that was once empty is being possessed by Actin's negative charge. The negative charge creates pure darkness. The same way the positive charge creates the aurora borealis, right? And that's how we know these are photons. And by the way, this is confirmation quantum agony is correct. So now we get to the bread and butter. I promised you guys I was going to show you where the ZPF is in the games. So first, we're going to take what we all just learned and apply it. So if increasing the stitch rate creates light, which is positive energy, if something were to leave an animatronic and it was negative energy, it would create darkness. What is darkness as we can see it in FNAF, right? Are they maybe shadows? So this is where we get the shadow animatronics. The energy is no longer conducted to a physical surface. So now it's just so potent, it's caused fluctuations in the 0 point field that it's making darkness, right? Creation equals a change in the field. Now, to be clear, the reason why these fields aren't interconnected all the way across is because once you fluctuate a 0 point field, it is no longer an exposure state, which is for energy. It's the description of a photon and how it's a fundamental piece of energy. That's why it fits the 0 point field because it's the simplest form of energy. Yeah, it's no longer just bosons. So it's no longer a ZPF. It's an EMF, electromagnetic field. Now that I explained shadows, this isn't the only time it's seen the ZPF. So I'm going to take you to Ultimate Custom Night. In Ultimate Custom Night, there is the Old Man Consequences Easter egg, where you set it to one. You get fished up by Old Man Consequences. You get this transition screen where you're showing the same white 8-bit Golden Freddy from FNAF World. Huge thanks to Draz and Flipside because I watched Drazarus's recent video, which I'll link in the description. It's a great video, but they gave me the further evidence by me watching their video of what I was missing. So that white bear is the same one that is the representative of the crying child in FNAF world. So we have the crying child coming and talking to Old Man Consequences. Old Man Consequences tells him, leave the demon to rest. That's not your dad anymore. Like, just let him go. Stay with me. Move on. The crying child does not listen, and he goes into the lake. Now, whenever he goes into the lake, you get the cutscene of Golden Freddy right in your face. People are like, Golden Freddy is stopping you. No, you're playing as Golden Freddy. You're actively leaving the ultimate custom mode. And whenever you're leaving Afton's brain, you're introduced back into the atmosphere. Whenever you are, you're bringing the Golden Freddy's negative charge is brought back into the ZPF. Now, what did we see behind Golden Freddy? Now you're like, oh, this is just a black backdrop. No, this is the same darkness that spoke about whenever Jake entered the Stitch Wraith after leaving it. This is the same darkness that's created with the shadows. This is the same darkness that is coming from the negative charge of agony. What we're seeing here is Golden Freddy leaving Ultimate Custom Night, entering the 0 point field. Golden Freddy's agony causes a fluctuation in the field, which makes it dark. And then Golden Freddy goes and he leaves. We know he leaves because of the events into the pit and the new kid in Fazbear Frights. So he doesn't stay in UCN the entire time that Afton does. To finish this off, I'm going to give you guys a visual example of how agony and the 0 point field works using two of my favorite YouTubers and a lot of people's favorite YouTubers, Gibby and TD Reads. So first, we got Gibby, right? He's green. Gibby is super happy that Toto has forgiven him for saying nobody wants a sentient toy as a friend. So now, whenever he's happy, he lets off like photon. Doing this, he's having what I refer to as a high emotional moment because he really do be loving Toto. Whenever he does that, and as Taggart says, the emotional energy emits from us like a toxic cloud. It emits from Giddy, and then these photons are interacting with the virtual photons around. Right now, from here, it's going to follow the laws of science. It's going to be absorbed into surfaces. Then it's going to be converted into heat. Now, down here, on the other hand, we have TD Reed's. Anytime anybody says Cassidy's the vengeful spirit, if someone says Cassidy's the vengeful spirit, he's letting off negative energy, dark photons. Those photons interact with the virtual photons in this high emotional moment. But unlike light, darkness isn't absorbed and converted into heat. So now this fluctuation changes the entire field all around into an endless, infinite electromagnetic field. Now the particles are in it and they're charged particles. What's going to happen is that this energy that's now infinite and charged, its particles are going to get conducted. So then we have, because TV Reed loves him some Toy Chica, we got some Toy Chica over here. And an electromagnetic field too. Doesn't have to be, it can be the same field, doesn't have to be the same field. Energy travels. Um, so now these hard photons are going to get conducted. The particles are going to be put into the animatronics metals. That means that the animatronic is now possessed with the high emotional moment of being reached. Right now, if light absorbs and converts into heat, how is Jake or anybody else causing agony? And it's by repeated exposure. And not all wavelengths are absorbed. Very popularly reflected is the green wavelength, which is the reason I believe that the energy is green for good people is green in FNAF. Also, I believe purple is for the bad guys because purple is associated with the dark period as well as the imagery for dark matter in that. So there it is. This is how agony works. This is how the ZPF works. This is how animatronics get possessed. This is what makes the shadow animatronics. This isn't even a theory. We're told by the author how this stuff goes down. Thank you guys so much for joining me in the ocean today. If you like what you saw and you believe in what I'm saying, go ahead and smash that like and subscribe button. Swim on over to the community. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be happy as always to talk with you and discuss it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Until next time, keep swimming in the ocean.